Oh. Hello, Julie. Hey, Tardak. Come on in. Make yourselves at home in the night room. Hey, Palm. Hey, Cece. Hello, hello. Come on in. How is everyone? Hey, Mia. Hello, hello. Hey, X. Hey, Kimmy. Hello. Hey, it's just me. Hey, Blue and Brunette. Hey, Melanie. Hey, Paul. Hey, Mary. Hey, Kimberly. Firefly 22. Hello. Hey, Bossman. Hey, Lisa, Rise Up for Love. Hey, Eric Jones. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Lulu, thank you for sharing the live. Hey, Judy. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Bad Kitty Pop Tart. Hey, Marine's daughter. Hey, Judy Steele. Did you watch the content today? If you did, you should know what the story will be. Hey, Bad Kitty. Hey, Spitfire. Hey, over there in YouTube land, I don't know how many we got over there. Do, 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 do. Hello, Don Juan. It was crazy for me too, Mary. That's the reason I was putting on some of my makeup when I was in here, because I didn't have time. It was raining so bad. Hello, Bachota. How are you? Let's share the live. 5 friends, 10 friends, 15, 20. I know we've got them. Let's go ahead and let's share it. Let's get Twisted Tales Live out there. Thank you, Don Juan of Tucson. If you're brand new here, let me know. Let the Night Dwellers know. Let the Night Watchers know. We want to welcome you. Hello, James Lizardi, 4-year-old. Exactly. Ash Marie, thank you for sharing the live. Hey, Juju. How are you? I'm going to show the gown here in just a moment. Hey, Pastelina. I love your new name. I think it's pretty. Hey, Kingfisher. gold. It has a very full skirt, but there is a slit that comes out to about here on it. So it's also very sexy. Very, very sexy. And it's gold. And you got the sparkly top. And then it has a bow here. Hello over there. If this is your first time here, this is Twisted Tales Live. I am your host, Britton Morgan. I'm a horror author, and I'm also a teller of every scary story that you can imagine. Cryptids, Appalachian horror, urban legend, paranormal, serial unalivers. A top favorite here, true crime, aliens, horror stories, you name it. I tell it all. If that interests you, hit that follow button and the notification bell and never miss another Twisted Tales Live. This is a safe space, a warm space, an inviting space. There is no judgment here. I want you to come in for the next couple of hours and just relax. Just let it go and listen to a bedtime story. And welcome. Spitfire, I didn't know you were sick. How are you feeling? Hello, Dog Star Band. You like cryptids? Well, you're here on the right night. XJ says yes for cryptids. Come on in. Hello, Shell. It was amazing. Julie and Kim knocked themselves out. Oh, awesome. It always helps when you have family near. Hello. Four minutes. Grab your popcorn, your drinks. Hello, hello. Mia, thank you for sharing to the FYP. Two. There you go, Penny. Hey, Karen. You like vampires? So do I. Hey, Sandra Jefferson. Bossman, thank you for sharing the live. So good to see everyone here, my night watchers, my night dwellers. We've got the best community on the planet. It's no fluke that you found us. You were looking for something that you could immerse yourself in and be interactive. You found the right live. Did you like it, Penny? The Jersey Devil? I didn't tell that one not too long ago. Yeah, I have been studying that one for quite some time. Hey, who's that girl? Hey, Sinking Dreams. Good to see you back. Hey, Melissa X. Hey, AJ Cat. Hello and welcome. Tonight is Chiller Monday. Chiller Monday can carry any category, but tonight I decided, since I had seen quite a few requests about cryptids, that I would do one. And tonight, the cryptid story is one that I have never heard. It's called The Boggy Creek Monster from Arkansas. Have you heard of it? If you haven't, you're about to. We have a way of how we do things here in the night room. You're about to find out what that is. Welcome to the night room. I am the Night Queen, and this is story time. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light that candle for ambiance, or to chase the shadows away. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Hey, Lulu. The Boggy Creek Monster, terror in the Arkansas swamplands. Let's get the story set, shall we? I'm going to show you some pictures so you can put a face to it. Boggy Creek Monster. People that have encountered him said he is about 8.5 to 9 feet, possibly 10 feet tall. He resides in the Arkansas swamplands. And he is a frightening thing. Let me see if I can find another picture. I will show more pictures as we go throughout the story. Welcome, my precious night dwellers, to the darkest corner of the night room. Tonight, I, your Night Queen, shall take you deep into the beaten swamplands of Arkansas, where something ancient and monstrous stalks through the cypress trees and the Spanish moors. This is not just another creature feature. This is the story of the Boggy Creek Monster, the folk monster, a beast so terrifying that it turned a small southern town into a living nightmare for decades. Tonight, you'll hear from those who looked deep into its eyes, who felt its massive claws rake across their homes, who smelled its putrid stench of death and decay. So settle into the shadows, night dwellers, as you're so good in doing. Let the darkness embrace you as we journey to 1971. Oh yes, it wasn't all that long ago, where terror first emerged from the murky depths of Boggy Creek. But first, let me know in the comments. I'm ready. Then let's begin. Chapter 1. The First Shadow. 1971. First encounter, Bobby Ford. My name is Bobby Ford. I was just 14 years old when I first saw the thing that would haunt my dreams forever. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was May 1971, and the Arkansas heat was already thick as molasses, even at night. I was walking home from my girlfriend's house in Oak. I decided to take the back road through the woods, like I always did. The cicadas were screaming their summer song. I found it peaceful, relaxing, and the air smelled like honeysuckle and swamp water. If you're not anyone from Arkansas, you don't understand. It was what I was born in. It's what I loved. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. The woods went dead silent. And when I tell you dead silent, I mean you could hear nothing. Not even a cricket chirped. That's when I heard it. This low, guttural breathing. Like something huge trying to stay quiet. I stopped dead in my tracks. My heart hammering so loud I thought it might give me away. Bobby, I said to myself, it's just a hunter. Someone's out here in the woods hunting illegally. I hollered out, hey, if you're trying to scare me, it's not working. That was a lie. It was working. And that's when I saw it. The shadow. Shadow had to have been 9.5, 10 feet tall. He was standing between two pine trees, about 30 yards away. It wasn't moving. He was just watching me. I'll never forget when the moonlight caught its eyes. I'm telling you, night dwellers, they glowed red, like hot coals. Its shoulders were massive, covered in dark, matted fur that seemed to absorb the light. I was on the high school football team. I was brave, usually. But this thing standing just yards from me had me shaking like a leaf. Who's there? My voice cracked. It took one step toward me. Just one. But that step, the ground shook. I could hear branches snapping under its weight. And then I smelled it. The smell hit me so strong, like a dead animal had been rotting in the sun for weeks, mixed with something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. Something wild, something dangerous. I ran. God help me, I did. I ran from it. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life, faster than I've ever ran on a football field. And behind me, I could hear it crashing through the underbrush, keeping pace with me easily, as if it was nothing, as if it could have caught me. It could have reached out and just grabbed me by its big paw. I know it could have, but it chose to let me go. I don't know why, but it did. When I got home, my mama took one look at me and knew that something was wrong. Bobby, what happened to you? Zach, get in here. Something's happened to Bobby. Shh, I said loudly. I locked the door of the cabin. I walked over and stood at the kitchen window and looked out. It had followed me home. She asked me why that I was looking out. I walked over to Daddy and told him we should pull out our weapons and get them ready. Now you two boys, don't you sit over there and conspire. What is going on and what is outside? I tried to tell her what I'd seen, but the words just didn't come. How do you explain a nightmare walking on two legs? Thank you. That was just the beginning, Night Dwellers. What I saw that night was only the first whisper of terror that would soon consume our entire town. Question: what lurks in the shadows when the woods fall silent? Do you want to hear more? Chapter 2, The Scream in the Darkness, 1971. Second encounter, Elizabeth Ford. I'm Elizabeth Ford, Bobby's aunt. My sister told me the next day what he saw out there. This isn't the first time. I've known about this thing for decades. It's haunted the swamps. It's haunted folk for years. What that boy saw in the woods was terrible enough. I'd heard descriptions of it. red and black hair, a face like an ape, but the strength of 10 men. I remember something that happened when I was a little girl. I was staying with my granny. She lived in a little cabin overlooking the swamp. I never did like it all that much. But I remember one night we were out on the porch and we heard something loud, something guttural, something crying but sounded like it was laughing at the same time. And my granny told me, she said, "Don't you mess with that folk thing. You get yourself up out of that chair, you get in that house and you lock that door. Granny's coming right behind you." But what happened to me 3 weeks later, after my nephew, that's when we knew this thing wasn't just passing through. I lived alone in a little house on the outskirts of Folk, right where the town meets the swampland. It was a quiet place, which is how I liked it. I'd had husbands. They made it too loud. God rest their souls. I survived them. Some people would say it was almost too quiet. The house sat on stilts because of the flooding, and thick woods pressed in on 3 sides of me. It was around 2 a.m. when I first heard the scratching. Slow, deliberate, scraping sounds coming from underneath the house. I figured it was just an armadillo or maybe a possum looking for scraps. But then that scratching moved. It traveled along the length of the porch, followed the floorboards above. Whatever was down there was big. I could feel the whole house settling with its weight. I had pipes that ran under the porch, and I could tell that the thing was grabbing onto them, because when it did, the whole house shook. That's when the screaming started. It wasn't human, night dwellers. I'm 85 years old. It was the sound of something caught between an animal and a man. And it was the same sound I heard when I was a little girl, back all those years ago. A howl of rage and hunger that seemed to come from the very depths of hell itself. The windows rattled in their frames. My coffee cup fell off the table and shattered, and doggone it, that was my favorite one. Well, I crept to the window and I pulled back the curtain just an inch. Moonlight streamed across my yard, and there it was, standing right at the edge of that tree line, staring right at my house. I just looked at it, made eye contact with it as it growled. 10 feet tall, covered in dark brown fur that looked almost black in the moonlight. Its arms hung down to its knees, and its hands, dear Lord, its hands were like shovels with claws, but it was the face that nearly stopped my heart. Let me see if I can make you youngins understand what it looked like. Flat, ape-like features, but there was intelligence there. Malevolent intelligence. It wasn't just an animal that I was staring at. It was something that understood exactly what it was doing to me. It was enjoying scaring this old woman. We stared at each other for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Then it opened its mouth, and it let out another scream. And this one was different, almost tinged with laughter, like it was mocking me. A low growl. Then it turned, just like that, and walked back into the woods, moving with a strange rolling gait that was almost graceful, despite its size. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. I'll tell you one thing, I've seen encyclopedias. One of my grandkids showed me a monkey once, a gorilla, I think it was called. Let me tell you something. There was no gorilla that I saw. Had the face of a man and an ape. It seemed strong to the Ford family. I'm not sure why. But I'll tell you one thing these old bones knew. It was just getting started. Question. When a monster stares back at you, who is really the hunter? Chapter 3, Under Siege. (1971). First person, Wilma Orton. Wilma Orton's my name, and I lived through 3 months of pure hell in the summer of 1971. What started as strange sounds became a siege that nearly drove my whole family insane. My husband, DL, and I, we'd been married for 15 years. When he left the army, he wanted to be away from everything. And I've always tried to support him in anything that he wants to do. But I have to admit, when he bought that piece of property in Folk, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the green water. I didn't like the smell. Now, he grew up there when he was a boy, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. But like I promised him when we were saying our vows, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. I just didn't know that it was going to be a swamp cabin. I remember this one morning, DL went out on the back porch. We had our garbage cans back there. For the past few nights, they had been overturned. Strange footprints in my garden. My tomatoes were gone. And then DL saw something, and I saw it too. Those were footprints. They had to have been 18 inches long with claw marks at the end of each toe. So that meant that it was actually longer than that. But then, I don't know. It's like it got personal. Every night, around midnight, it would come. And every night around midnight, I would wake up because I would hear the trash cans being messed with. Now, DL said that he was going to be out there waiting this time. We heard it, walking around our house, testing the doors and the windows. As we were sitting there and I was sipping on some hot chocolate, it would scratch at the side and I would hear it. I was like, DL, what is that? He wouldn't say anything. And then there was this one night, I had just finished washing dishes. We'd had a few people over and they'd gone home, but I remember I was staring out the kitchen window. I was putting a pan in the dish drainer. And I tell you, something was staring at me through that window. We didn't have security lights installed back then, but we sure as heck did after this. Because I put my hand on the window, and do you know what happened? It did the same. And I knew that it wasn't a normal man. There was no way. I could hear him breathing against the door. DL went out the next day and he ordered us security lights to be installed, which I was actually very happy about. And he bought him a pew pew, kept it loaded by the bed. He said, next time that thing comes around, I'm going to put an end to it. But when you're facing something that shouldn't exist, all the pew pews in the world feel like toys. July 15th was the night I saw it. Clearly. Under the security glow in the backyard. I didn't like those security lights. There's not much that I do like. And I didn't like these because they were yellow. And they just made everything look washed out. We've been trying to have a nice dinner despite everything. It was becoming a nightly visit. DL was working late. And I can tell you right now that I did not like being out in that swamp alone. It was around 11 p.m. I had made him hot dogs, macaroni and cheese. And we heard it coming through the woods. Branches breaking. That awful smell drifting in through the woods. I remember it sounded kind of like a tornado. You know how you can hear the wind just thrashing things down, like a combine. Well, that's how it sounded to me. I smelled it coming. It smelled like death. This time was different, though. This time it was angry. I don't know if it was because DL had put the security camera lights in the back of the house. I don't know. But it was different. We were sitting there. DL was about to take a bite of his hot dog, and then it started pounding on the walls. Boom! 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 Like he was trying to punch a wall and punching a hole right through us. The whole house shook. Pictures fell off the walls. Our dog Minnie was whispering and wet herself in the corner. DL took off for the bedroom. He grabbed his pew-pew and headed for the front door. "Stay back, Wilma!" he shouted. But when he flung that door open, nothing. It had started to rain and the wind was blowing fierce like. Just empty darkness and that lingering stench of decay accompanied by a bolt of lightning. DL looked for it, but he couldn't find it. Well, where did it go? It can't have gone that far. Honey, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. I'm gonna find that monster. We found the footprints the next morning in mud. Those footprints led right up to our porch and then just stopped. Like the thing had vanished into thin air. But we also found something else. Scratch marks on the side of the house, deep gouges, 8 feet off the ground. And then right beneath our bedroom window, more muddy footprints. I told DL I wasn't staying there. I don't know what that thing was, and I don't want to know. All I know is I saw a big hairy beast standing in the yard, and then he just vanished like a ghost. I told DL if he loved me, he was going to move me on out of there, and he moved me within a week. Couldn't take it anymore. I felt like at any moment it was just going to burst through the door and just tear us to pieces, like pulled pork. But some of our neighbors, well, they weren't so lucky. Question: what drives a monster to torment the innocent? Chapter 4, Night of Terror. First person, Ida Smith. You think life really can't get much worse for you? You've heard that old saying, when it rains, it pours. I'm going to tell you about the night that my family encountered the Boggy Creek monster. My husband, Willie, had been in a terrible accident. Broke his leg, his arm, fractured his rib. I was having to take care of it all. The kids, my husband, the dogs. July the 21st, 1971. It's a date that's burned into my memory like a brand. I had just given Willie his meds and put the kittens to bed, and they were loud. And I told them that night, I said, I have got such a bad headache, y'all. I just need to go and lay down. But Mama, we're hot. I didn't want to open up the windows because in the past week, it began to stink really bad. I mean, a swamp doesn't smell good anyway, but it just smelled different. There was a heavy decay on the wind. We had a fan, but the thing had broke down. It was probably made from the 1950s. So I gave in and I let the children open the window to their bedroom. The house was quiet except for the sound of Willie's snoring. And I could hear the distant sound of frogs in the creek. Around midnight, Gatsby Skunk, my dog, he started growling. Big old hound dog. Not barking. Gatsby was growling. Low and continuous, like he was looking at death itself. I hollered out the door, Gatsby, you shut that mess on up now. We're trying to go to sleep. But he just continued to growl, low and continuous. I went to the window to see what had him spooked. And that's when I saw it. there he was, standing in our backyard like it owned the place. It was the biggest damn thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Covered in hair so dark it seemed to swallow the moonlight, and I remember the moon was shining big and full that night. It was just standing there, swaying back and forth and back and forth, staring at our house. I remember thinking, did a monkey escape from the zoo? What is that thing? I didn't want to wake Willie because I knew that he was in a lot of pain, so I went in the bedroom and opened the closet door and I pulled out the pew-pew that he had. And I was headed for the bag when one of the kids caught my arm. It was my oldest son, James. "Mama, don't go out there," he whispered. "Something doesn't feel right." I turned and looked at him. James was prone to bloody noses, nosebleeds, a lot. He was holding a handkerchief to his nose right then. I said, "Your nose is bleeding." He said, "Yeah, it started bleeding." Next thing I knew, I'm watching this thing. James and I saw it. He took a deep, deep breath. And then that thing charged our house like a freight train. Crash! It slammed into our back porch so hard, the whole structure collapsed. By God, I didn't know what this thing was. Wood splintered, glass shattered. My baby started screaming. Willie woke up. "Honey, what's going on? What was that?" He couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't help me. He couldn't even walk. I picked up the pew-pew and I fired 3 shots through the back door. Bang, bang, bang. Each shot should have dropped that thing. My daddy taught me how to shoot. And let me tell you something. I knew how to aim, and I knew how to fire. And when I shot 3 shots at that monstrosity, it did not even faze it. In fact, I feel like it only made it madder. It let out a roar that shook the windows and started tearing at our back wall with its claws. It was like it was trying to tear the house down to get inside to us. James' nose was running really bad, pouring down his neck, his shirt. I grabbed my sweater and I pulled it off and I told him to hold it to his nose and to hold his head back like his doctor had told him to. For 20 minutes, that monster tried to get into our house. It was a raving lunatic, whatever that thing was. 20 minutes of pure terror. While my family huddled in the bedroom and I stood guard with a weapon that might as well have been a pea shooter. It wasn't random destruction. It wasn't like being attacked by a bear. It was systematic. First it tried the back door and then the windows, and then it actually started climbing up the side of the house. It peeked through the window at us as it was climbing. It was trying to get to the 2nd floor where the kids were. The worst part was the sounds it made. Not just roaring, but talking, grunting and growling like it was trying to communicate with us somehow. Like it was telling us what it was going to do to us when it got inside. My sweater was covered in James' nose blood. He took it and he tossed it out the window. And then just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Complete silence. I waited 5 minutes before I dared to go outside and look. And it was gone. But there was something else that was gone too. My sweater. That James had held to his nose to staunch the blood. Gone. Vanished like smoke. I don't know. I don't know why it came for us. James seems to think it was a link to the blood. That it smelled it. That night, I don't know. All I know is I never want to see it again. That's what I said that night. I never wanted to see it again. Question. When your home becomes a battleground, where can you hide? Chapter 5. The Photographer's Curse. 1972. First person. Sarah Powell. My name is Sarah Powell, and I'm a wildlife photographer. Or I was. Until I tried to photograph the Boggy Creek monster. What I saw through my camera lens changed everything. Everything I thought I knew about the natural world. By 1972, the stories were everywhere about this Boggy Creek monster. And as a photographer, I was fascinated by the possibility of documenting something that was truly unknown. And there were so many cases of it, so I felt like it was a sure bet that I would see it. I'd spent weeks in those swamps. I loved nature, I loved the outdoors. I was setting up camera traps, following tracks, waiting for just one clear shot. And it was on March the 15th that I finally got my chance. I was hidden in a blind near Boggy Creek around dawn. I remember it was cold but humid at the same time. When I heard something moving through the water, it was something big. That I could tell. I raised my camera and I looked through the telephoto lens, and what I saw standing knee-deep in that murky water, I still wake up screaming and shaking and covered in sweat. This thing, it was washing itself. This massive black hair covered creature was actually washing blood off its hands and arms in the creek water. The water around it turned red, and I could see chunks of something floating downstream. Through my 300 millimeter lens, I could see every detail close up. The creature stood at least 10 feet tall. That in itself was just crazy and with proportions that defied clarification. Any classification of this beast was not known. Its face was a horrific blend of human and ape features. But there was something else. Something that suggested this wasn't just an unknown primate. It had scars. Deliberate scars cut into its chest and arms in patterns that almost looked ritualistic. Like it had marked itself or been marked by something else. I was so focused on getting the shot that I didn't realize it had stopped washing. And now it was looking directly at me. Through 300 feet of swampland, through thick undergrowth, it had found my hiding spot. I didn't want to scare it. I wanted to continue to photograph it. I was taking shot after shot after shot. And then, apparently it heard me. It tilted its head and made this deep guttural sound. Not a growl or a roar, but something that almost sounded so close to laughter. And then it held up one massive hand and pointed directly at my camera. I clicked the shutter, the flash went off, and that thing came at me like a locomotive. I ran through that swamp like the devil himself was on my heels. And maybe he was. Behind me, I could hear it crashing through the water, gaining on me with every step. My equipment bag caught on the cypress root, tore open, spilling cameras and all my lenses, all my expensive equipment into the muck. When I finally made it back to my truck, I realized the worst part of all was my nice camera, but the photograph was still back there, somewhere in that cursed swamp with that monster. The only evidence of what I'd seen was lost forever. But you know what? Maybe that's for the best. Some things aren't meant to be captured on film. Some horrors are meant to stay in the shadows, I guess, where they belong. Question: what happens when you try to document a nightmare? Not everything wants to be discovered. We're going to take an intermission, and when I come back, I will finish the Boggy Creek Monster. And let me know in the comments if you're enjoying it. I'll be right back. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Wonderful. I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Jareen. Hello, Sagittarius 77. Hello, Chariot of Fire. How are you, darling? I love edamame. I love edamame beans. In fact, I was thinking the other night that I needed to get more. All right, I'm very jealous, Palmon. Reese's peanut butter cups are one of my absolute favorite. Hello, Patricia. You're enjoying it, Patricia V? Good. Glad to hear it. Hey, Kerry McAllister. I will take that. I will take that indeed. Oh, snickerdoodle cookies and milk. Oh my gosh, be still my heart. Hey, Ray Ray. You liking it, Pastelina? Oops. Oh. So glad, Kerry. So glad. Absolutely. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. That is something I've carried down through life. Glad you're enjoying it. Cindy, thank you for the follow, my dear. Cindy, do you like scary stories? All right, everyone, now we have got a big event coming up Wednesday night. You won't be camping anytime soon. I don't like camping. I like glamping. Actually, I've never been glamping either, but I would go glamping over camping. Just as long as I've got something that I can be in that has air conditioning, a bathroom, and the conveniences of life, I'm good. So Wednesday night, I got completely off track. Wednesday, I was thinking about your peanut butter cups. Thank you so much, Palmon. Love you. I was thinking Wednesday night, 8:00 p.m. Eastern, I am going to interview Chris Netzel. He is a paranormal investigator. I don't know if you remember when we did the interview with Santa Paranormal. He's lovely. So glad that I know him now. Well, here comes another paranormal investigator, Chris Netzel, 8:00 p.m. And I am going to ask him a lot of questions. So don't miss it, 8:00 p.m. Eastern. I know, now I'm craving peanut butter cookies so bad with a cold glass of milk. So good. Glamping Turtle Woman, I'll do. I told Mr. Night Queen that I would be happy to do that, but I'm not camping. I'm not laying on the ground and have sneaky snakes and bears coming in my tent. No, thank you. I will tell you what, I was in the store today, was checking out the merch. There is so much that I want. Yes, Nat and Sherry, I would camp in a 5-star hotel, for sure. The merch is absolutely beautiful. X has just knocked herself out with this. She is such a go-getter. She's never heard the word no, never. Um, she's incredible, and she has chosen some merch that is just off the chain. Exactly, Penny. We can't go camping if Jason Voorhees is out there, can we? Oh, you had to put a jacuzzi in there. Now that is something that I do like. That is something I definitely do like. Hello, Aurora. How are you doing, darling? Thank you for all the twisted trinkets. Thank you for lighting up the gift gallery. Thank you for your presence here. It's just absolutely amazing. I hope that you are enjoying it. I am trying to provide the most immersive storytelling experience for my night dwellers. So thank you all so much. The s'more. Oh my gosh, Rose. I love it. Y'all are making me hungry. Most definitely. What is camping without a s'more, right? Hey, Joanne. Thank you for the goats. I love goats. I heard of these places now where you can go and do like goat yoga for just to release stress and anxiety. Don't you think that'd be cute? Little baby goats just crawling all over you. You learned how to microwave a goat? No, I'm kidding. You learned how to microwave a s'more? We're trying to grow on YouTube. We want to get monetized on there. Those little goats, they are so cute. They faint, they're funny, they're so adorable. Now you don't even have to go into YouTube to subscribe. You can do it right from my link in my bio. It was a good one, wasn't it, Ray Ray? It was like the perfect time. I was like, you microwaved them? I'm going to see if they're destructive little boogers. They really are. My grandmother had one, and the goat came up, and she had just bought this rug that said welcome, and she laid it right at the front door, and the goat ate it. He ate it. It was hilarious. Let me see, for those who have just came in, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am telling the story of the, I'm telling the story of the Boggy Creek monster in Arkansas. I'm on the 5th chapter. I'm getting ready to go into the 6th. But what I was going to say, hold on just one second. This is one cryptid that I have never heard of. This thing is, this is probably one of the best pictures that I have seen. Oh, her painted nails. She's only 3. Oh, how sweet. So this is the Boggy Creek monster. He's also known as the name of the town has also given him a name, but apparently he appeared to a lot of different people back in the 1970s. There's also reports that he was seen even way back before that. The folk monster. So he's also known as that. Here's another picture. He's supposed to be between 9 feet and 10 feet tall. He's supposed to be 9 feet, 10 feet tall. Red eyes. I mean, it's possible, Palm. It's very, very possible. Some people have said that he is Bigfoot. You can see how long that his arms are there. You think he's handsome, X? I don't think I would want to see him. I'd be like, nope, you can go right back where you were. Now here's one. This is Case Files, the story of the Boggy Creek, so you can really see his face there. Can you imagine looking out your kitchen window and seeing that? He does look so much like a monkey, though, like a gorilla. No, it's not pretty, not at all. Here's just some more art that's been done. I think he looks more muscly than Bigfoot. Check yourself in somewhere, Joanne. One more minute and then we'll go back into story time. All right. snow, Samsung? Really? Okay, thank you for letting us know that. I feel the same way, Chariots. Spitfire, oh my gosh. Let's go back in. Lower your lights. Lock those doors. That candle's still lit. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. If you are just coming in, tonight is Cryptid Night. Well, it's Chiller Monday, but it's Cryptid Night. And I opted for Cryptid because so many of my night dwellers love them. Tonight is the Boggy Creek Monster from Arkansas. And he is a terrifying thing. Hello, Gracie. Chapter 6, The Beast Evolves, 1974. First person, Thomas Crabtree. My name's Thomas Crabtree. And I'm a God-fearing man who's seen the face of something that has no business walking this earth. What my family endured in the winter of 1974 tested our faith and nearly broke our spirits. We lived in a farmhouse. It was about 5 miles outside of Folk. Just me, my wife Sarah, and our 3 twin girls. It was a hard winter that year. Snow came early and stayed late, cutting us off from the town for weeks at a time. That isolation made us the perfect prey for that monster. Started with our livestock. First, the chickens went quiet. Not dead, just silent. They wouldn't leave their coops. They wouldn't eat, just huddled together like they were hiding from something. And then my pigs, they started acting strange, refusing to go outside even for food. First time I saw any evidence of this thing, the tracks appeared after the first real snowfall. I saw these footprints, had to have been at least 18 to 20 inches, leading from the woods to our barn, circling the house 3 times, then heading back into the forest. When I tried to chase it, to track it, the footsteps disappeared. But these tracks were different from the ones people had been reporting. These weren't no tracks of any kind of a wild animal. They showed intelligence, planning. The creature had approached from downwind, so our dog wouldn't even catch its scent. Ruby catches every scent, but she didn't catch this one. It had avoided the areas where snow would crunch the loudest. It had tested our doors and windows without leaving obvious signs. On February the 14th, Valentine's Day of all days, it made its move. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. The kids were doing homework, and I was reading scripture by the fire. Outside, the wind was howling through the bare trees, and snow was falling so thick you couldn't see 10 feet. That's when I heard it, the scratching at the front door. Slow, deliberate, like something was trying to pick the lock with its claws. Charlie wanted me to help her with the math problem. Hold on, baby girl. Daddy's listening. I told Sarah to go in the bedroom and grab a pew-pew. She did as I asked. She came back in and handed it to me. I walked to the front door. Who's there? The scratching stopped, but then we heard footsteps, heavy, measured steps, moving around the house. For 2 hours, that thing circled our home. It tested every possible way in. It tried the doors, the windows. It even climbed up the chimney. We could hear it on the roof, walking back and forth, just looking for a weak spot. Mary, she was the youngest by 10 minutes. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes and asked, Daddy, what does it want? And I didn't have an answer for her. How do you explain evil to a child of 6? Around midnight, it tried something new. It started imitating voices. First, it was my brother's voice calling from outside, asking to be let in. It's me. It's Tim. It's colder than anything out here. Let me in. And I almost did. But then it realized it wasn't getting anywhere, so then it started mimicking Sarah's sister, claiming that she was hurt and needed help. Now, what the scary thing is about here, my brother and Sarah's sister was over here a little while back. We were celebrating the 6th year of our girls. That thing must have been around then, just watching us, studying us, learning us. But the worst was when it started using my daughter's voice. We heard Mary calling from outside. Daddy, Daddy, I'm scared. Please let me in. But what was so scary, Mary was right there beside me. Pale as a ghost. her real voice got in her throat. That's when I knew we weren't dealing with just an animal. This was something far worse. Something that could learn, adapt, and use our love against us. Question: what manner of beast can still the voices of the innocent? Chapter 7, The Researcher's Descent, 1978. First person, Dr. Frank Schambacher. My name is Frank Schambacher. I'm a cryptozoologist from the University of Kansas. I came to Polk in 1978 thinking that I would debunk a local legend. That's basically what I do. Instead, I discovered something that challenged everything I thought I knew about the natural world. My initial approach was purely scientific. I collected plaster casts of footprints, analyzed hair samples, and interviewed witnesses. The physical evidence was, to say the least, disturbing. Footprints showing a bipedal creature weighing approximately, with the descriptions that they gave, 800 pounds, perhaps more, with a stride length suggesting extraordinary height and strength. But it was the behavioral patterns that truly perplexed me. Dare I say, frightened me. This wasn't random animal activity. It was systematic, almost methodical. The creature appeared to be studying the townspeople, learning their routines, testing their defenses, even adopting their sounds. I set up a research camp in the woods near Boggy Creek with my team, equipped with motion sensors, night vision cameras, and audio recording equipment. For 3 weeks, I documented strange phenomena: electromagnetic anomalies, temperature drops, sounds that register below human hearing range. Oddly enough, it was on the night of October the 31st, Halloween night. My equipment captured something extraordinary. At 3:17 a.m., every sensor triggered simultaneously. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in 30 seconds. My camera caught movement, something massive passing between the trees, moving with impossible stealth for its size. But it was the audio recording that truly shook me. For 17 minutes, my equipment recorded what sounded like voices, multiple voices, speaking in a language that I simply couldn't identify. The vocal patterns suggested intelligence, communication, and possibly even planning. I spent weeks analyzing those recordings with colleagues at the university, and the vocal range covered frequencies both above and below normal human hearing. The syntax suggested complex communication. This wasn't just animal vocalizations. Then I made a discovery that changed everything. My beliefs, my studies. Hidden in the high frequency range of the recording was something that sounded like singing, a low, mournful melody that seemed to be calling out across the swampland. I played that melody for several of my colleagues, people who had never met each other, never compared stories. Every single one of them went pale and said the same thing. That's the sound it made before it attacked. I realized that I wasn't studying an unknown animal. It was far beyond that. I was documenting something that possessed intelligence, culture, and possibly even spiritual beliefs. Something that used music as a weapon, that understood human psychology well enough to exploit our deepest fears. I published no papers on my findings. Some knowledge is too dangerous to share. But I'll tell you this. You should be careful in folk at Boggy Creek. Whatever walks those swamps is not just a creature. It's something far older and more terrible than we can comprehend. Question. When science fails to explain the impossible, what remains beyond that? Chapter 8. The hunter becomes the hunted. 1981. First person, Marcus Webb. The sheriff's department contacted me and told me that they needed me to go on a tracker. My name is Marcus Webb, and I'm the best tracker in 3 counties. When the state brought me in to hunt the Boggy Creek monster in 1981, I honestly thought it would be like any other job. I was wrong. Dead wrong. I've tracked everything that walks, crawls, or flew in these Arkansas woods. Bear, cougar, even a few escaped exotic animals over the years. But when they showed me these 18-inch footprints with claw marks, I knew that I was dealing with something outside of my experience. Not that I was going to admit it. I just knew it. I spent 2 weeks studying the creature's patterns, mapping its territory, learning its habits. It had a range of about 15 square miles that it circled over and over and over again. And it was centered on Boggy Creek, but it actually extended deeper into the White River bottoms. Smart thing too, it avoided the main roads, stuck to heavy cover, and never used the same path twice. I set up a series of blinds along its most frequently used routes, baited with roadkill and scent lures. My plan was simple. Wait for it to come to me, then put it down with a 375 H&H Magnum. It should have been enough to stop a charging elephant. When I heard what that professor said, that the thing was over 800 pounds, would sing. I have to admit, I thought he was full of poop. On March the 17th, 1981, he took the bait. I was in my blind near Sullivan Slough around 2 a.m. when I heard it coming. Not crashing through the brush like you'd expect from something that size, but moving quiet as smoke, testing the air. I could hear it grunting, checking for danger. That should have been my first warning. No animal I'd ever hunted showed that level of caution. It was thinking, planning, treating this like the trap it was. But I'll tell you one thing, it knew. It knew. I saw it through my night scope. My hand started shaking. This thing was 10 feet tall or more. A muscle and hair, moving between the cypress trees like a shadow. It approached the bait carefully, circled it 3 times before moving in for a closer look. It just stood, tilted its head, and looked down at it. I had a perfect shot. 200 yards, clear line of sight, no wind. I squeezed the trigger, and that .375 round should have dropped that monster right where it stood. But it didn't. The bullet hit its center mass. I saw the impact. I saw it stagger. But instead of going down, it turned and looked directly at my blind. From 200 yards away in complete darkness, it found me instantly. Then I swear to God, it smiled. That thing looked me dead in the eye with those red eyes and smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. It reached down, picked up a rock like the size of a bowling ball, and threw it at my blind with pinpoint accuracy. The rock exploded through my blind like a cannonball, missing my forehead just by inches. I rolled out of there and ran for my truck, but I could hear it coming after me. Not running, just walking steadily like it knew it could catch me anytime it wanted. I made it to the truck, but when I looked back, it was standing at the edge of the tree line, watching me leave. In my headlights, I could see the bullet wound in its chest. I could see the blood. A hole that would have killed any living thing. But it was healing, night dwellers. It watched that wound, and I watched it close up like it was never even there. I never hunted again after that night in that area. Some things aren't meant to be killed. Some things are meant to remind us that we're not the apex predators we think we are. There's more out there hunting us. Agent. Question. What happens when the hunter realizes he is actually the prey? Chapter 9. The Final Witness. First person. is Jenny Morrison, and I was the last person to see the Boggy Creek Monster before it disappeared forever. What happened to me on October the 13th, 1988, closed a chapter of terror that had plagued our town for 17 years. By 1988, folk had learned to live with its monster. Tourists came looking for it. It was a celebrity. Documentaries were made, books were written. But those of us who lived there, we knew the truth. It was still out there, watching, still waiting. I was 19, home from college for fall break. Against my parents' wishes, I decided to go camping with some friends near Boggy Creek. I remember Daddy was furious. "Don't be stupid, Jenny," he warned. "That thing is still out there. Don't you think that it's anything nice?" But I was young and stubborn, convinced that all those old stories were just small town superstition and nothing more. I'd grown up hearing the tales, but I'd never seen anything myself. I thought it was the case that I was just too smart, too modern to believe in monsters. I was wrong, though. We set up camp about a mile from the creek, in a clearing that gave us a good view of the surrounding woods. It was a beautiful October night, clear sky, full moon, perfect for a campfire and ghost stories. Around 11 p.m., my friends dared me to walk down to the creek alone. "If you're so brave, Jenny," they said, "go get us some water for coffee." It was stupid, but I was trying to prove that I wasn't scared. The walk to the creek took about 10 minutes through dense woods. My flashlight beam danced between the trees, creating moving shadows that seemed to follow me. The night sounds gradually faded until I was walking in complete silence. When I reached the creek, it was there waiting for me. This monster that looked like a monkey, a really big monkey, was sitting on a fallen log on the opposite bank, perfectly still, perfectly calm. In the moonlight, I could see every detail. The massive shoulders, the long arms, the intelligent eyes that seemed to look right through me. It was everything that I'd ever heard about the Boggy Creek Monster. I wasn't exactly sure what to do. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. And amazingly, I wasn't afraid. Not really. There was something almost sad about it. This ancient thing trapped between worlds, neither fully animal nor human. Then it did something that changed my understanding of everything. It raised its head up in the air and it began to sniff. It reached down then and picked up a smooth stone from the creek bed and placed it on the log between us. A gift, an offering, a goodbye. There were people out hunting this thing all the time now. They're trying to catch a glimpse of it. I understood, though, that it was leaving. After 17 years or more of terrorizing our town, it had decided to leave. Maybe it was tired of the fear, the hatred, the constant hunt. You would see pickup trucks with shining lights blaring out into the woods. Maybe it had found what it was looking for. It stood up slowly. The sheer size of this thing. And it looked at me one last time and walked into the woods. Not the rushed, violent exit of previous encounters I'd heard about, but a peaceful departure. Almost dignified. I picked up that stone, Night Dwellers, and I still have it today. Smooth as glass, worn by centuries of water and time. Sometimes on quiet nights, I hold it and remember the moments of understanding between two creatures who should have been enemies. That was the last confirmed sighting of the Boggy Creek monster in Folk. It kept its word. It never returned to Folk. But sometimes in the deep woods where the old growth still stands, hikers report strange sounds, an absolutely horrible smell, the smell of death, impossibly large footprints, and the feeling of being watched by something ancient and unknowable. Question: can a monster choose redemption, or does it simply find a different hunting ground? Chapter 10, The Legacy of Darkness, 1971 to present. And now, my precious Night Dwellers, we come to the final chapter. The truth behind the terror, the legacy that continues to haunt the swamplands of Arkansas to this day. You see, the Boggy Creek monster was never just one creature. Through my research in the darkest archives, speaking with witnesses who dared not come forward, I've uncovered the horrifying truth that the authorities buried decades ago. The creature that terrorized folk was the last of its kind. An ancient race that once ruled these swamplands long before European settlers, before Native American tribes even, before recorded history began. They were the old gods of the deep woods, being caught between the physical and the spiritual worlds. Deep in the White River bottoms, there were cave paintings that predate any known civilization. Primitive drawings showing massive, hair-covered beings standing over human sacrifices, conducting rituals under blood-red moons. The local tribes knew of them. They called them the Night Walkers, beings that existed in the space between light and shadow. But here's what chills my dark heart, Night Dwellers. The creature that Jenny Morrison saw wasn't leaving out of peace or redemption. It was leaving because its work was done. For 17 years, it had been studying us, learning our weaknesses, our fears, our deepest vulnerabilities. Every encounter, every attack, every moment of terror was part of a larger pattern, you see. It was collecting our nightmares, feeding on our fear, growing stronger with each scream that echoed through those cursed woods. And when it finally departed Vogue, it didn't die. It evolved. It took everything it had learned about human nature and carried it to new hunting grounds. Reports began surfacing across the South. Similar creatures, similar patterns, but smarter and more cunning than ever before. The beast that haunted Boggy Creek spawned a new generation of horrors. Creatures that understood technology, that could mimic cell phone calls and voices, that knew how to use our modern world against us. The old monster taught them well before it faded into legend. But sometimes, on nights when the moon is dark and the swamps are still, people still hear something moving through those ancient waters. Not the original creature, something far worse. Something that learned from the master and surpassed it. New families move to Vogue every year, drawn by the quaint small town charm and the low property prices. They dismiss the old stories as folklore, smile at the locals' mornings, and settle into homes that sit just a little too close to the tree line. And every few years, the disappearances begin again. Not dramatic attacks like the old days, those were too obvious, too easily investigated. No, these new horrors are subtle. A camper who never returns from a weekend trip, a jogger who vanishes on a similar trail, a child who walks into the woods and is never seen again. Oh yes, it's grown, and now it takes its victims. The authorities blame wild animals, drowning accidents, people simply choosing to disappear. But the old-timers know better. They see the sign. The 18-inch footprints quickly covered by rain. The scratch marks on trees 10 feet off the ground. The smell of decay that lingers in the air long after the wind should have carried it away. The Boggy Creek monster may be gone, night dwellers, but its legacy lives on. It taught us that we are not the masters of this world, but there are things in deep places that remember when we're nothing but prey, animals cowering in caves. And perhaps that's the most terrifying truth of all, that somewhere in the darkness, in the spaces between civilization and wilderness, the children of the night are still calling, still watching, still learning, still waiting for the perfect moment to remind us of our place in the food chain. So when you drive through those small southern towns, when you see houses that sit just a little too close to the woods, Or when you hear locals whisper warnings about, you better not go out there after dark, listen to them. Because the Boggy Creek monster may be legend now, but legends have a way of becoming real when you least expect them. Final question. If monsters can learn and evolve, what does that make us? In swamplands dark where monsters dwell, I weave for you this cursed spell. Through Boggy Creek the terrors flow to haunt the dreams of those below. Each witness spoke with trembling voice of creatures old beyond their choice. Their nightmares dance within my realm, where I, your queen, stand at the helm. From Arkansas to wherever you hide, my stories follow by your side. Through sleepless nights and shadowed halls, the Night Queen's darkness always calls. You think you're safe behind your door, but monsters walked this earth before. And in the space between dreams and wake, your trembling soul is mine to take. So when you hear that midnight sound, I feel that something's lurking round. Remember tales of Boggy Creek, where nightmares hunt the strong and weak. My stories burrow deep where they cannot flee, and in the darkest corridors of your nightmares, you belong. To me. You do. Pleasant dreams.